One of the biggest differences I see between how native speakers talk in American English and how English learners talk is how we are using stress and stress patterns sentences. If you don't know, stress means two things. It's the word that we raise the pitch on and we slightly extend in terms of time in order to kind of draw attention to the word. And in a sentence, there are small parts called thought groups. Every sentence has thought groups. It's basically groups of words that go together before a pause or before the next group of words. And in every thought group, there is going to be one word that is stressed. That right there is a lot of information. So we're going to kind of break this down to make sure that you can apply these sorts of principles to your own speech in a way that sounds natural and smooth. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show. Wake up, American. Monday through Friday, we are here to make sure that you can get in your 5 to 10 minutes of pronunciation practice for today. Because that's what it takes. It takes showing up for yourself consistently on a daily basis for a little bit of time. To guide you in this process, there's me. Hello, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. It's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English, include placement, pitch, breath, and trying to weaken your consonant sounds and trying to strengthen your vowels. We're not alone today. We got Emmanuel in the house, and we also have Bilad here as well. So to demonstrate everything that we're talking about for stress, let's take a look at some example sentences I've written for us very eloquently and elegantly using paint. Okay, so we have some sentences here. And I want to show you how these sentences change depending on the stress pattern you use. Because one of the things that I think I see a lot with native speakers versus people who've learned English is that native speakers often, not always, but often have fewer thought groups and often have fewer stresses. Whereas people who learned English tend to have shorter thought groups and more of them in a sentence. And that can have an impact on your rhythm. And I want to demonstrate that for you. Okay. Hello to Cleverton. Thanks for joining us. They ask a great question. Do you have private classes? I do. I do still have private classes, although it's something I'm slowly getting away from. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go to fluentamerican.com. I was pointing to the wrong side, and that can give you some more information, sir. Thank you for asking. So let's look at this first sentence. And let's imagine that we have multiple stresses. So let's imagine if I stress all and news and night. Let's imagine I have 3 stresses for this sentence. And what I need you to understand about stress, like I mentioned earlier, stress means that we raise the pitch, right? So that means that my pitch on all is going to have to go up. It means that my pitch on news is going to have to go up. And it also means that my pitch on night is going to need to go up. Okay. And that also means that if I'm not going up, English, we're either doing one of two things, just like in life. We're either growing or we're dying. So if I'm not going up, that means I'm going down. So like, it was all over the news last night. Okay. So that's the first way we're going to read this. And then I'm going to read it again with only one stress. Let's imagine that when I read it, I only stress the word all. And I want you to see if you can hear a difference in the rhythm. Okay. First way with the multiple stresses. It was all over the news last night. It was all over the news last night. It was all over the news last night. Maybe you talk like this. It was all over the news last night. It was all over the news last night. Where it's like you can kind of get this bouncing quality, right? It was all over the news last night. Okay, so that rhythm, it certainly is understandable. You can understand it. It's clear. There are stressed words, which is good. But the problem is, we're like constantly in motion. Like my God, it's like I feel like I'm on a really, really bumpy road. It was all over the news last night. So what happens if we just stress all? Well, that's going to impact some things. If we just stress all and take off all these other stresses, see what's going to happen now with our rhythm at the end. It's no longer going to stress night. So that means if I'm just stressing all, everything else is moving down now. So it's all over the news last night. Okay, so if I read it like this with just a stress on all, it was all over the news last night. 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 Do you hear the difference in rhythm? Okay, do you see how the second one is a little bit, in my opinion, it's a lot smoother and it's a little bit less distracting for my listener. It was all over the news last night. It was all over the news last night. It was all over the news last night. Hear the difference in rhythm? Okay. That's not to say that you have to only have one stress in a thought group. I mean, in a sentence, excuse me. Okay. You can have more than one stress in a sentence, but I would say try to avoid that pattern. One way that you can avoid that kind of bouncy pattern is to make sure that you change your pitches regularly enough. So if I go back to our original, like it was all over the news last night. It was all over the news last night. It's still a little bouncy, but at least it can sound a little bit more natural if you move around the stresses. Okay, or if you move around the pitch level for every thought group. Let's take a look at how this would impact the second sentence. Let's say I want to stress wanted in our next sentence. I want to stress buy, and I want to stress a gift. Like I wanted to buy you a gift. I wanted to buy you a gift. So like I'm basically stressing like almost every other word. I wanted to buy you a gift. What if we take off one of these stresses though? What if we just say, let's say we just want to stress gift. If I just stress gift, what would that sound like? I wanted to buy you a gift. 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 Can you hear the difference between the rhythm in those two? I wanted to buy you a gift. I wanted to buy you a gift. Okay, so in the first one, I'm stressing wanted, buy, and gift, and then the last one, I'm just stressing gift. So you can again kind of detect the difference in rhythm that this has when I allow my thought group to go a little bit longer. I do just want to give a quick note. There's a couple things I want to tell you guys about that we have going on. So I appreciate your patience. Hopefully you're learning something from this. You may notice that we're talking a lot about pitches right now. If you find pitches to be difficult, or if you want to start really getting a handle on what are the pitches that native speakers use, right now I'm just kind of getting a feel for a potential workshop we'll run. It's not guaranteed to run. But what I'd like to do is take a look at how a comedian is using pitch, the high stuff and the low stuff, in order to improve their storytelling and their speech on stage so that you can apply these sorts of principles to your own speech. This will be on June 20th, 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm trying to just gauge interest right now. So if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, if you could let me know in the chat, just say like, yes, interested, or after the video is done, just saying you're interested in that. Just trying to gauge a feel. If we get enough interest, we'll run through the workshop. And if not, we won't. Our last one here. So we have this sentence. Do you know what the answer could be? So again, let's do a lot of stresses. So let's imagine we have lots of thought groups. Like, do you know what the answer could be? Okay, so if we have lots of stresses there, do you know what the answer could be? Do you know what the answer could be? Again, a lot of potential stresses there. What if we take one of those out? Let's say, or maybe two of these out. Let's maybe take off the stress. Let's maybe just stress answer. Do you know what the answer could be? 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 Do you hear the difference in rhythm there? The first one, do you know what the answer could be? Second one stress. Do you know what the answer could be? So those two things have a pretty big impact on rhythm. So guys, please, please, please pay attention to how many stresses you're using in your sentences. So for instance, what I just said there, pay attention, I stress pay to how many stresses you're using in your sentences. I stress sentences. Pay attention to how many stresses you're using in your sentences. Stressing sentences. Notice I didn't say pay attention to how many stresses you're using in your sentences. No. Pay attention to how many stresses you're using in your sentences and things like that, because this has a pretty big impact on your rhythm. If you do continue to have questions about this, you want to practice these sentences, other sentences, and you want to have an idea if you're using this correctly, I do just want to remind you, we have a pronunciation group on Telegram where every single day I post challenge words, phrases, sentences, kind of like today, and people send in audio and then they get feedback. So if you're trying to get feedback to see if you're actually doing these sorts of things correctly or in a way that sounds natural, and you want to practice with me every single day, Telegram group is a great way to do that. You go to fluentamerican.com/Telegram to join us so I can hear you and give you some feedback every day. With that, guys, continue practicing these sentences. If you have questions for me about anything we talked about, you can also leave those in the comments and let me know if you think that webinar would be interesting for you to join. I will see you all later. Thanks for being with me. Look, there's a million pronunciation resources out there, so the fact you spent some time with me today is, as always, greatly appreciated. I'll see you all later. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good afternoon, guys. Take care. Wait, we have a quick question from Subeda. Pronunciation. How do you pronounce breakfast? That EA, the letters EA very often make an S sound like in best or get or in the word measure. Okay, so the word would be breakfast. So you have an S sound followed by a short I. It's like breakfast. Breakfast. Breakfast, breakfast, breakfast. Hopefully that helps. I will see you all later.